everyone. Welcome to Emerge and Empower with your host, Dr. Lynn J. We are here for a brand new series which talks about the journey to the crown. And I am once again excited to come back to you into your homes as we bring in Emerge and Empower. Emerge and Empower is a platform where individuals come on and share their stories of past traumas. And these traumas vary from childhood, grief, sickness, different areas of their lives that truly altered who they are, what they're doing, and what has become their purpose on today. So, on today, I would like to welcome a special guest, a crowned queen, as she will be sharing her stories, journey to the crown. Many times we see individuals with the crowns on and we think about beauty, no brains, or beauty, they're vain. But you must understand each person, in order to walk the stage, has gone through so many different pains. And it's another testament to their life that they have arrived to a place where they have turned their pain into purpose, making their platform one of a journey and sharing those experiences with individuals. The pain behind the crown, from pageantry to publishing with purpose. Let us welcome AJ to the set. Welcome, AJ, to Emerge and Empower on today. How are you doing?
Hi, great. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm just a true honored to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm truly happy that you accepted the invite and want to come on and share your story because it shows growth, it ensures changes. And also, as you share those pains on today, I want people that are watching to understand that there are so many variations of trauma or pains. And for everyone that you meet, they are fighting some type of battle. So, AJ, why don't you go ahead and let your guests and friends know that you're on Emerge and Empower, and go ahead and subscribe.
Of course. Yes. So excited.
All right, all right. So we're happy for AJ on today, and we're going to get right into her story. And AJ, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Boise, Idaho, horse ranch. So I'm a country girl, and I danced for the Denver Nuggets for a season. So that's been a little fun thing to put in my pocket, that I'm a professional dancer. I currently coach and teach dance classes now. I have 6 kids, and 4 of them are competitive dancers. In fact, next week I'm going to Florida for college nationals, as the same weekend as my littles are competing here in Denver. So
Wow.
It's a very busy season and exciting. We have one boy, and he's into football and lacrosse. He's 10. And we're just having so much fun with our little crew and trying to raise them right. And
Yes.
like you said, we've all gone through trauma, and I'm excited to share some of those stories with you.
Indeed. 6 kids. I'm a mother of 6 myself, and I know the house is definitely never a dull moment.
And never clean.
That's true. That is indeed true. Wow, because you're forever cleaning, right?
Forever.
I just clean this area and someone comes in and you have to start all over again. So we're going to dive right into your story. We're going to go right into your story as Mrs. in the Mrs. America system, how it was remarkable, and from losing 80 pounds and stepping onto the stage. What inspired you to take on such a challenge?
Honestly, it was my little girl. So at the time, she was 6 years old, and she was invited to compete for IJM, International Junior Miss, as Miss Petite Junior Colorado. That's that long title. And as you know, 4 of my 6 kids have apraxia of speech. And what that means is that they were mute till they were age of 4. Wow. So no words. So for her to give a 45-second speech at 6, she'd only been talking for 2 years.
Wow.
So it was amazing. So inspirational. I was like, if my little 6-year-old can do this,
Right.
I think I can. So I was inspired by her. I was inspired by the current Mrs. Colorado at the time. Her name was Erin Fields, and she was in her 50s and a mom of 4. And I was like, well, if she can do it, I can do it too. So
Indeed.
huge
Indeed.
inspiration, and hence getting after it right then and there of, okay, I'm going to eat really healthy and I've got 80 pounds to lose. So let's do this.
Wow. Wow. So to lose 80 pounds and what approximate amount of time did you need to do that?
It was a year. It was a year. So I was at the Mrs. Colorado pageant at that time, and I signed up the next day, and I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm motivated, and just started working out really hard and eating right, eating a lot less, like all the things. And when you're motivated to wear a swimsuit and heels on a stage, I was like, well, I got to get all of that in me.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. For me, I probably would have dread the swimsuit part because I did Miss Plus America. Thankfully, we don't have to do the swimsuit version because I don't think I would have wanted to be bold enough to be on the stage in a swimsuit. Like, oh my God, I'm always covered up. I was raised old school church. You know, I went to the beach with shorts on, okay? And
right.
So don't talk about walking the stage in a swimsuit. So I know it takes a lot of courage for women to do that. Some don't understand the courage that it takes to just do that, just to bear yourself, you know, in the front of individuals all over the world. And so how did this shape your confidence and purpose, though, for you to feel confident enough to lose this weight, step out in your swimsuit? Where did that courage and confidence come from?
Well, I have been pretty fit my whole life.
Okay.
But as you know, having 6 kids, and then my last 4 were literally like back to back to back to back.
Wow.
I didn't lose the weight in between. And so I had the confidence that I could lose it. I knew I could. I just need a little motivation. And I knew that it would be worth my, my health as well. And just, it was so motivating to know that I could do this. Like, I just kept telling myself, those positive affirmations, right? Like, I can do this. I can do this. And just taking it in chunks, 80 pounds is overwhelming. Like nobody, that's too much, but I can lose 5 pounds.
Right.
And then I can lose 5 more.
Right.
And then, so just breaking it down to baby steps, that's how you have to do life. You can't, you can set your goal. That was my main goal in a year, 80 pounds.
Right.
But each month was like, okay, 5-10 pounds, just each month. Boom. I did it. So that was nice.
Wow. And I'm sure that was definitely a journey in itself because the first 5 pounds, usually easy, water weight, stuff like that. Even into the 10, you can stretch yourself and you could probably lose that in 30 days. A lot of people can do that. But when you start talking with 15, 20, 30, 80 pounds in a year, that's like a whole life change. Your diet change, a lot changed during that time.
That's a whole person.
That's it. That's a whole person. I'm talking about like 3, depending on where you came from, that's like at least 3 to 4 dress sizes for some.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm 6 foot tall. So that's, 100%. Like, that's a lot.
That's pretty high. Well, that's tall for a woman because even the average man is what, 5'7"?
Yeah. I tower over him.
I'm 5'7", and when I stand around, I see a lot of guys, even if they're like 5'10" or something, and you put on heels, you're already like, shoulder to shoulder, and some even above. So I'm sure. How was that for you growing up? Probably being the tallest girl in the classroom or tallest girl in different areas of your life.
I was always the tallest person. So I hated it growing up because I was always like in the center of the pictures.
Right.
The picture was like this.
They couldn't miss you.
Right. Everyone else is down here and I'm up here. Right.
Oh my.
But I hated it because everyone was like, oh, how's the weather up there? And I'd be like, well, it's the same as your weather, I'm sure. But as I've gotten older, I love it and I embrace it. And I married a husband that absolutely loves it. We're both the same height. We're both 6 foot.
That works. But
I love to wear my heels. So,
yes.
Suddenly I'm 6'4" and he's still 6 foot. And he just loves it.
I love it. I love it. Because I see women.
Confident.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
When I see women who their husbands are shorter, you find that they kind of shy away from wearing the heels and they go flat, And I think when a woman is in her heels, as you know, it puts your posture up and it's get everything in place and you just look well aligned, and well dressed. It brings everything together in your heels. But then I find women, when they're much taller, they tend to go lower.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Shrug their shoulders, etc. Yes, and we both know that that's part of pageantry. That's part of life. Is to be confident. If you want to be successful in your business, in your entrepreneurship, and whatever you do, you have to be confident. You can't come in and going, well, I don't know, wishy-washy. Nobody will buy from you. Like, no, you don't even know what you're talking about. But if you come in and you're confident, and isn't that what pageantry brings out, is that confidence that absolutely, I can do this. I can empower you. I can empower. First, you have to empower yourself.
Definitely. Number one.
Because if you're not empowered, it's like on the airplane, right? You got to put the mask on first. You got to take care of yourself before you take care of other people. So it's the same kind of thing. If you're not empowered, it's really hard to empower other people.
Yes, for sure. And for empowerment, definitely it has to come from within. And that's how you can also, you become boss, if you want to be boss, but you're shy, you're timid and all of that, it tends not to work for individuals when they do. So you have to have it inside, and that confidence, and other people now can, engage with you as well from that confidence that you have. All right?
I'd like to add something.
Sure.
Sometimes there's a point of being overly confident. And I share that because I competed for 4 years for Mrs. Colorado, and I always made it in the top, but I never actually won, but that's okay. But I think it was my second or third year. It must have been my third year, and I had a fellow queen reach out, and we now are best friends. So I love that. But in the moment, she shares, and I didn't even remember reacting like this. But she's like, do you remember when I reached out to you and I was like, hey, how are you? And you replied something like, what do you want? And I was like, whoa, me? Like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to come across like that. But the point is that I was so focused on the pageant, on winning, on like being amazing. I was like, I don't have time for the rest of y'all. And I missed the boat. I potentially could have missed a best friend. We're best friends now.
It tends to happen. It tends to happen because everyone's more like in a competitive mode, and they tend to forget, we're also here to meet individuals. And believe it or not, some of these people end up being your friend for life. Yeah. Yes, for sure. So it's kind of that pride, humility cycle. Right. It's true. So as a mother of 6, balancing pageantry, family, and now publishing empire, that's not a small feat. So how did you manage it all, and what advice do you have for other moms pursuing their dreams?
Make goals. So I'm going to share a little goal bingo that I actually just did a couple of days ago. It's the beginning of the year, and I'm in an amazing author group with Crystal Swain Bates, and she's amazing. And so she took us through a little thing, through AI, and we just punched in a bunch of stuff into Chat GPT. Came up with the most amazing goals. If you don't like what we were talking about for weight loss, right?
Right.
Like 80 pounds can be overwhelming, but you got to break it down. You got to have the big goals and then the little goals to get
Right.
there. And that's what each one of these 25 goals. So I can mark off each one as soon as I have accomplished it.
Right.
And that you just have to make strong goals, break it down, and realistic goals too. Like
Definitely realistic.
make $1 million. Okay, well, that's awesome. But how are you going to break that? I mean, how are you going to do that? Like
Right.
you have to put in the work. You have to put in all of the things. So I think it's
Right.
important to make big goals, dream big, and go for it. So like I just published probably about 20 books in the last like 2 weeks.
Wow.
Hello, like that's awesome. If you'd asked me even two weeks ago, I would have laughed in your face and I said, it's
Right.
Christmas. Like I don't have time for that.
Right.
But I just started pumping out a bunch of planners. So I've got
Okay, so you did a lot of planners. So in the publishing, though, this is not just your books, but you are a publisher as well, correct?
Correct. So people will come to me and say, hey, I've got this dream. Let's put it together. We'll brainstorm. We'll put it together. Right. For example, my last client, she was awesome. She wanted to do a children's book. Okay. And I was like, okay, let's talk about it. And the more we talked about it, I was like, whoa, you do a podcast. Let's put your podcast into a book. And she was so excited. Not piece of cake, but we did it and we got it together. And now she's very proud to have her podcast in a book, inspiring others. I mean, she sold a bunch her first month. Great. And just so proud of her. So just set her up for success.
Indeed, for success. And so your children's book series, Zoe's Great Adventures, okay?
Yes.
So it shows it was born from a deeply personal place with your 4 children experiencing apraxia of speech. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then how did their journey inspire your writing? Because as we think about it, even though you explained it, but I'm sure, let's start with the first child that you discovered that had this. What were you going through? What was that journey like?
Well, bringing it back to pageantry, my pageant coach at the time, Alicia Darby, had challenged me to make a legacy project. We talked about lots of different things, and then books came out, and I was like, oh, well, I can do a book. So that's where that kind of started. And then I was like, well, now what do I write a book about? And so then we started brainstorming some ideas, and she was like, well, it's right there. It's your life. Right. It's what you're doing right now. And so that's why all of these books were so easy to write, because it's what we're doing. And so with the apraxia speech, not being able to talk, it's so much bigger than that too. You think it's speech, but it's also motor development.
Yes, all of that.
It's all of that. So like half of my kids never even learned how to crawl.
Wow.
And believe me, I was on top of them going, you will crawl.
Yes.
And that didn't work, by the way. It didn't work. So we did a lot of therapy. And that's my point, is we went to horse therapy. So hippotherapy. Hippos in Greek, horse therapy. Right. And so that's what this book is all about, actually. Just kind of flipping through some of the pages, like this one, we actually did puzzles. Like they rode on the horse on the side or on the back. And
which book is that? Let me put it up.
Yes. So this one is the Learns to Talk.
Learn to Talk.
Yeah, Learns to Talk. So this was the baby. This was the first one that came out.
Okay. Let me see. There we go.
And I just sent, and that's Learns Online. That was the second one, because we were going through the pandemic. Oh, and that was fun. Yep, that's us, like coming out with the book. We were so proud. I was competing as Mrs. Highlands Ranch for Mrs. Colorado. As you can see, a couple of my kids holding dogs and holding horses. We love our animals. That's
cool. You have some other one here This is basically the list of them to collect all of the books.
Right. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
that's probably a fourth of them at this point,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
has been fun.
And what about this? Is just three. This first three.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are the first three books. Yeah.
Okay.
So the learns to talk, learns online, and learns manners in Maui because
Okay.
my husband is Hawaiian.
Oh
And
wow,
we
beautiful
go get to go to
combination.
Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
and she has to learn manners because we're a little bit greedy for our birthday, and we want our snow cone
Right.
wiki, which means right now.
Right now.
So we get to learn some Hawaiian words, and
Okay.
so
Okay.
then that's a lot of fun.
Right. And then here we have this is how they can reach you or your web page here. Is this?
Correct. queenpublishingagency.com.
Okay.
And we're on all of our socials, also queenpublishingagency.com. Of course, our books are also Zoe's Great Adventures.
Okay.
That's that. So it's a
And so
lot of
this is
fun.
it. You're here in your shirt. Ask me about. Mhm.
Woohoo. Yay.
So I'm gonna leave this here for a minute because as I heard you talking, this journey with the books came about during the pageant. That's how you came into this platform to start writing, or was this before?
Correct. It was during the pageant when I was competing
Wow.
and with my pageant coach at the time. And just am very grateful for that inspiration because look what it's bloomed into. It's bloomed
Right.
into a whole agency where not only do I publish books for myself and
Mm-hmm.
for my kids, but now I publish books for other people and help
Great.
their dreams come true.
Right. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm so glad that you said that because whenever you go in pageant, if you did not already have a platform, correct, you now have to decide what your platform is going to be.
Yep.
Like in my case, you're on my platform, Emerge and Empower, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the platform for those dealing with trauma. But all of this was already started for me way before I came into pageantry, which was 3 years ago in Miss Plus America pageant. So it was easy for me when they said, "What is your platform?" I didn't have to go search for one. I said, "I'm going to use what I have." And it started with my book, which is She Emergence, I Am She. And I started during the She Emergence affirmations, and it took on a life on its own because it was not just women that was dealing with traumas and different things. So instead of calling it She Emergence affirmations, now the podcast is called Emerge and Empower. So it takes healing to emerge and then to continue. So for you, it was also easy because you were already dealing with this in your life with your children, and you had something to go back on to bring awareness to in reference to, what you went through with your children. Now, were there any peer groups? Were there any workshops? Were any of these things available to you, or you basically were on your own?
That's a great question because I was thinking about that the other day, the power of community, the
Mm-hmm.
power of getting together, like my yoga class this morning. I can do yoga on my own or
Mm-hmm.
going to a class. I feel the energy of everyone around me. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, I have had lots of community, which I'm so grateful for. The Alicia Darby pageant coach, she had a group where we all collaborated and came up with different ideas to help each other. My Crystal
Mm-hmm.
Swain Bates book group, where she taught us how to have a book publishing agency. And so now we have a group of 100 people that we just love and support each other. If I ever have a question, I have
Right.
100 people right there
Go
at
to.
my fingertips
Love
to
it.
help support me. I can support them. There's sometimes I'm like, oh, this is how you do it. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's times like, I have a question. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then somebody
Right.
will help me. And it's such a great learning
Love it.
and positive environment. And you have
Right.
to surround yourself with good people because if you don't, life is way too hard.
Oh, yes.
Way too. As a mom of six, like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yes.
it's too much. So yes,
It's a
having
lot.
a power of community with you is just key.
Indeed. So you mentioned Alicia Darby's challenge to create the legacy and the book project that took you beyond the traditional pageant platform, right? So how did the moment shift your vision? What does it leave? What does leaving a legacy mean to you now?
It was a huge mind shift because I was thinking little. I was thinking, oh, maybe I can teach some dance classes or something. And I was like, well,
Right,
I already do that.
right.
So that mind shift of thinking pageantry is a small time. I
Hmm.
mean, we're not going to be competing our whole lives.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
so how can you think beyond the pageant, like
Yes,
even bigger than the pageant? Like I'm still doing books, like even though I'm not competing right now, but
right.
not to say that I'm not going to compete again, but
Hmm. Hmm.
I just am finding that this mind shift is
Yes.
so powerful. And we hear all the time, shift your mind and,
Yeah,
have a positive mindset and,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But no, it's actually real. It's like
It's
real
real.
stuff. It's mind blowing when you
Hmm.
really dive deep and
Yes.
like, how can I make these the best books? Or that's my platform. So whatever your platform is, like, how can I make this the best? And
Yes.
that's empowering because you're
Yes.
empowering others. You are, that builds your self-confidence. Your shoulders
Hmm.
are back because you're producing great books,
Right.
something to be proud of.
Hmm. Hmm.
Very empowering.
Indeed, indeed. So, are there any traumatic experience you have faced on this journey? Please share the pains behind the crown and how you overcame them.
Oh my goodness, where do I start?
I
Well,
just love you. I love your laughter. I love you. And people don't understand for some people to just outburst and laugh. You've been to places where you didn't have laughter. You had tears and you had numbness because there's a lot that's going on in life before someone can just freely just laugh. Because there are people, who smile who have never really actually laughed because they're not truly healed. They just like snicker, but to laugh like your whole being, it's really contagious.
oh, thank you. We'll laugh or cry.
It's true.
And like you said, I've had a lot of
I was
tears.
the
And
crying one.
I was too, so that's why I say that.
Now
Lots
I
of
laugh, but
tears.
oh my God, was I the crying one? Oh my goodness. I used to cry myself into a headache, okay? Oh my God.
Yes, I'm with
Whew.
you. It starts with when the kids, my first one,
Mm-hmm.
well, my first child that had apraxia of speech, and we didn't
Mm-hmm.
figure that out till she was almost 2. I mean,
Wow.
I'm like, well, she should be talking. We're not even crawling yet.
Right.
Like, and the pediatrician kept saying, oh, it'll come, it'll come. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
mommy heart was like, no, like something's wrong.
Right. Right.
And I just want to just say that to all of your amazing listeners, like,
Yeah.
go with your mommy heart. Like, number one, if you're feeling like something's wrong, it probably is. Like,
Yeah.
go with it. Get a second, third, fourth, fifth opinion if you have
Yeah.
to.
Correct.
And I'm glad I did, because I looked into that and we did some testing and found
Mm-hmm.
out about, but at the time we didn't even know it was apraxia of speech. They didn't even know that.
Wow.
It's pretty newer. It's a newer diagnosis actually,
Right.
because
Right. Right.
that child is now 16 and it was just like really becoming popular diagnosis, like
Right.
autism, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Yes.
that's a newer diagnosis too. Like
Right. Right. It's
we
true.
didn't know about that. So
Hmm.
anyways, like that was a huge pain, right? Like lots of tears. Like I said,
Hmm.
I was on top of her, like, you will crawl.
Right.
You will talk. Like
Yes. Yes. Indeed.
like
Yes.
that was painful
Because you
having.
refused to give up. You wanted to
Yes.
get beyond this. You wanted to push, and whatever it takes, that meant you were right on the front row seat of that. This is going to happen. I will not accept this.
Yes. And we had 4 therapists coming in for an hour each week. We had the
Wow.
physical therapist, the occupational therapist, the speech
Hmm.
therapist, the behavior one. I mean, I don't know, start
Hmm.
making up therapists. I mean,
Right. 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 Right.
I was
Just
like, who
because
are you?
therapist.
Yeah, exactly. Come on in. Let's help us out. I mean, I had therapists leaving crying.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, wait, wrong person crying here.
Right.
Like very painful, very, very, but we rise above that. And then when my next child had it too,
Hmm.
and then the third, And then the
Right. So this was
fourth,
back to back for each one, or did it skip?
it was. I was like, oh man. So my bookends, my first child and my last child do not have it.
Okay.
But the 4 in between do.
I see.
And I was just like, Heavenly Father, I love you, but this is almost a breaking point, you know, especially on
how
the
much
fourth
more
one.
can I bear?
How much more can I bear? Yes.
Yeah.
Because we want the best for our kids.
Yes.
You know, and when they're not being successful and they're not achieving even just the regular milestones, it's like, oh my word. Yeah, very challenging. Lots of tears. And I just look back, like you said, you know, I mean, you cry yourself to sleep, but at the same time, it's like,
right.
I got to be the strong one.
Yes.
I got to get up. Like, I got to be here for my kids and help them be successful. And definitely is eye-opening when I see a child screaming at the grocery store. I'm like, that was me.
Right.
That was me not too long ago when my kids couldn't talk. And as I'm 6 feet tall, so all my kids are tall. So everyone like expected them to have more development than they had, right? Because they're tall. Right. And then when they're like
they were already more than average when it came to height, you know. But everything else wasn't working accordingly.
Exactly. So that's very challenging too. When people kind of give you the look and the smirk and all those things. And I mean, I see it all the time in the grocery store. I'll just go up to the mom, give her a big fat hug and just say, you got this. Yes. You know, it's going to be okay. They will grow out of this. Like you'll look back at this time and laugh, but you know, and then they'll start bawling because they're like, oh my gosh, somebody gets me.
Somebody gets me.
Yes, like it's so stressful because, you know, grandma's over there yelling at him, you know, poor thing, you know, I mean, so yeah, I do. It's given me a lot more patience, a lot more humility. You know, God is great. He gives us what we can handle, even though we think we can't handle it.
Even though we think, that's what I was going to say. Because when we talk about what we can bear, when you're going through and you feel like you're at that breaking, like, I can't take this anymore. And you think about the scripture that says he will not give you more than you can bear. And you're like, well, I guess you think I'm stronger than I think I am, because obviously this is the burden that I'm carrying. You understand? But again, you know, you look back and you're like, wow. The whole thing is not giving up, because you have to be there for your children. You have to be in their lives. You have to push for all those expectations. You have to learn with them, grow with them, experience with them. So you're not only experiencing it as an adult, but now you also have to have that sympathy and empathy for the child and understand where their cries or tears or frustrations are coming from.
Exactly. And what techniques worked for one child now doesn't work for another. It's like a whole thing. And then I bring out the amazing awesomeness that has come out of that. Like you said, you know, when you think of the Bible and you think of what God challenges us to do and what we think we can and cannot handle. And then, you know, I think part of it too is looking at your blessings.
Yeah.
And reflecting back on your blessings.
Count your blessings.
My grandma would tell me that all the time. Count your many blessings. Name them one by one.
One by one. Yes, indeed, indeed.
Count your many blessings. See what God has done.
Because many times we're so focused on the situation or what's happening, we tend to lose track or blind by the blessings that we have. That one thing becomes everything and we can't see beyond it.
Exactly. And then, you know, I mean, now we have a book business that the kids' lives have inspired. Like, that's amazing. And here we have like all of the many blessings of now we were on TV. How cool is that? We got interviewed by Colorado Channel 2 News. They came and did a whole thing on our book
Beautiful.
and with the kids. Like, how cool is that? We were able to be guest speakers at Apraxia Kids National Conference for 2 years in a
Beautiful.
row. That's
Beautiful.
amazing.
That's
That's
amazing.
amazing.
That's amazing indeed. So through Queen's Publishing Agency, you have helped others bring their books to life. What has been the most rewarding part of guiding new authors, and what next for you and QPA?
Yes, I love it. Next is just bringing on more and more books, like for all of my clients, friends,
Mhm.
family, just empowering everyone. I mean, the book is the starting point, right?
Yes,
Once you getting a book published, now that gives you credibility. Now you
yes,
can be a guest speaker and you have a book like
yes,
that it's the book is the beginning. And I love
yes.
to
It
say
opened the
that because it
doors.
opens the doors for more and more. And what makes my heart so happy is helping others. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, whether that's a mommy heart or,
yes,
a blessing that God has given me. I love helping others,
beautiful.
empowering others that yes, you have a story and you've had your pains. How did
Yes,
you get through your pains
mhm,
to flourish? And people need to
yes,
hear these stories. I
yes,
feel like more now than ever, don't you? Like more
yes.
now than ever because the world is crazy right now.
Oh my God. Look at it
There's
right now, like
Look
this
at
week.
it right
This
now.
week, just
Just
this
this week with
week,
all the fires
the
and
6th of January to be exact, when we have all of this. So one part we have a snowstorm, and the next part we
mhm,
have fires, and it just taken over. So we need this, and these are more people that are gonna be coming out of this and emerging, stronger. We pray for strength. Through all
yes.
of that, we pray for all who have lost so much earthly possessions, losing their family and loved ones. So there's a lot of grief. There's a lot that's going to come out of this, and people need to hear positivity.
Yeah.
People don't need foolishness when they
No.
when they're dealing with stuff, when they're going through. They want something positive. And I truly thank you, and Queen Publishing. I like the name Queen. What brought it about? Is it tied in with the pageant?
It is. It is.
Oh,
But
I love it.
I loved it too, and it came right away. And when things come right away, it's right.
Yes. Yes.
And I just
Perfect.
loved it because I was like, you know what? We are all queens, whether you're
Yes.
competing or not. We are
Yes.
all queens and kings. Like, and yes, we publish for men too. But I just loved it.
I'm
Queen
glad you said
Publishing
that, because even when
Agency.
I do Emerge and Empower, men are like, it's women. I said, no, it's called Emerge and Empower, not She Emergence, like my
Right.
affirmation.
Right. Just to be clear, right.
Indeed, indeed. And so it has brought life. It started with your personal journey. And
Mhm.
as you progress through your journey, you have helped individuals with their own books. Now, are you only publishing children's books?
Oh, that's a great question. Everyone says that. And actually, most of my clients have not been children's books. So
No.
we publish novels, cookbooks, journals, planners, and
Okay.
children's books. Like pretty much whatever you can imagine, we
Right.
we can do. We can
Okay.
do. The power of AI, like,
Hmm.
there's just so many tools that we have now. Publishing has changed even within the last year.
Right. Right.
Like,
Indeed.
that's why I'm so grateful to be a part of my,
Hmm.
my 100 group, like I talked about earlier. Like
Right.
we're we're on it. We have such a great leader. She's on it and she's teaching us new things. Like we meet every week. I love it. So
Beautiful.
we're constantly
It's a
learning and
community.
growing. It's that community. It's that community. Helps you grow. It builds your confidence and you
Mhm.
hear other people's successes and you're like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And it
Exactly.
just helps
Exactly.
build that, and it goes back to that mindset we talked about earlier. You
Hmm.
can't get in there like, oh, well, they did it. Well, I can't,
Indeed.
no,
Indeed.
get it
Indeed.
together.
true. That's
and,
true.
and just know that, use that as positivity, use that as positive stepping steps and just
Yes.
building steps. And my favorite is be 1% better than yesterday. Just
That's
one,
it. And
just
that's not a lot.
1% better.
Not a lot.
That is not a lot. And we can
That
all do that.
realistic goal.
Yes. And sometimes we fall.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go back 5%. I don't know.
Right.
But
Right.
but that's okay, because
That's okay.
tomorrow is a new day.
Indeed. A new day.
We can do
New
that.
experience. So I really want to thank you, AJ, for coming here on Emerge and Empower. And before
Thank
we
you.
end, any last words that you would give to a mother or family member, someone who is dealing with their child that's going through a situation and they're feeling alone and they feel like they want to give up, because you've seen it where men leave the relationship
Yep.
because the child has a problem or an issue. Some people just can't handle it. What would you say to our viewers on today?
I would say this too shall pass. And my grandma would always tell me that too. Like sometimes we're feeling like we're in the darkest abyss.
Right.
And it's like the worst of the worst of the worst.
Right. Right.
And when you get out of that mentality, and to help with that is bake some cookies for your neighbor. Take your neighbor's garbage out for them. Do one little thing. It doesn't have to be life-changing.
Right.
One little thing to help a neighbor, a friend, grandma, doesn't matter. Person across the street, you never even met him. Go introduce yourself. Hi. I mean, what can I do? Cup of flour, whatever it is, it is. Get out of that, to help you get out of that darkest abyss, that and bring it back when you serve others. Suddenly, oh, my life isn't as bad as I thought it is. I have a healthy child, or you bring it really down to the basics. I have food to feed my kid. I have a house to put my children in. When you bring it really down to that gratitude and that thankful mindset, suddenly I can deal with this now. Suddenly my problems aren't as big as I thought they were.
As I thought, yes.
So that would be my words of advice, is to think of the big picture. Think bigger, try and get out of the awfulness and serve others and be grateful. Have that gratitude heart. And maybe that's writing 3 things down every day for 30 days, just every day. I'm grateful to be alive.
Right.
I'm
some
grateful for my house. Just some affirmations to help you get out of that negative space. Because we all go there.
Yes.
You're not alone.
No.
We all do that. That's Mother Nature. That's the adversary working on us.
Yes.
So how are we going to get out of that mindset? And if that's too difficult, then don't be afraid to ask for help.
Indeed.
Ask for help. If that's mom, if that's
mother-in-law. I think people need to get the pride out of the way.
Yes. Ask for help. Don't go there. You need to ask for help, and there's so much help available. Church, friends, there's different ways to, and if you don't know, just start asking. People will help you. People will help you.
Yes.
So I just want to empower all of your listeners that you can do this. This is amazing. This is a great time to be alive.
Oh, yes.
And to bring, we live in America. There's just many great things that we can just be proud of, that you can be your own entrepreneur. You can be whatever your heart desires, and all of these challenges, you can do it. You can do it. Just baby steps.
Using your example here. Going on to pageantry and finding your platform has changed your life. It was all in the decision that you made. You see, so the decisions that we make, sometimes we already have this picture of what we think our future should be, and then life happens, right?
Yeah,
it happens. We have to adjust according to life, but along the way, though, those lessons learned and those experience are gifts to you now to turn your pain into purpose. And
Yeah.
everything that you've experienced, now you can put it out there. Because I love the fact that I believe through your books and the experience that you went through with your children is bring more awareness, to a
Yes.
is bring more awareness and families together. You understand? And through the publishing, because giving someone a book, you could have a book for a lifetime. People could go back
Yeah.
and remember the story, so it's really wonderful. And I love it because you brought us back to the gratitude attitude. And everyone
Mhm.
knows that I am big about the gratitude attitude. Be
Yep.
grateful. Thank God for
Yes.
everything that you have. And like you said, if you're doing these affirmation, 3 words, tell yourself when you
Yeah.
get up and that day, affirm yourself. If you're feeling frustrated, step away. Go on your porch. Maybe the neighbors out there struggling, trying to put something in their house. Go help them. Find something to do instead of stay on that path of destruction and letting those thoughts take over. So I really want to thank you, AJ, for coming on here. And again, everyone, this was Emerge and Empower. And this series is called The Journey to the Crown. In this case, with AJ, she discovered her platform and it took life. It was something that she already had, something she was already dealing with. And now it's taken a life on its own and it's blessing. And she's empowering even us as we are on here today to let you know there is something that you have that is a blessing to you and also a blessing to others. It reminds me of the woman that had a little bit of oil and a little bit of flour. And when the man
Mhm.
of God came to her, you might hear me say the story a lot because it talks about faith and believing in helping, and God will truly bless you. And he asked her, bake me a cake. And she said, all I have is a little bit. And once we eat this, me and my son would die. It was at a season where it didn't rain for 3.5 years. And she obeyed and she blessed the man of God. And he said, go borrow bottles, borrow things and take it in your house. And she kept pouring and the oil and the flour. And now she became a merchant. It was in the little that she had. So each and every one of you on today, find your purpose in 2025. There's
Mhm.
something that you have that will be a blessing to you and a blessing to others. And you're probably sitting on it as an entrepreneur. You're looking for some great idea when it's something you already have that already bless you, that will bless others. So I want to thank you once again for being on Emerge and Empower. And this has been episode 1. Thank you, everyone. Until next time.